So we're going to talk about 3 different ways to help prevent freezing in your sprinkler system without having to blow it out.
So the first method is probably the most popular, really pretty easy, but it's not that effective.
Insulating the backflow. And this does not count as insulating your backflow. So here we've got just your common 1/2-inch thick open cell insulation. You can get this at most big box stores. It's pretty common and it's inexpensive. Now, this is insulating most of the pipes, which is good. It is not insulating the backflow or the spigot here. So these are areas that are prone to freezing. Now, this only will protect it if it dips just below 32 degrees. That's why you have this insulating blanket that goes over the top of all this. This, with the backflow blanket, will help protect it for a cool evening that's around 28 to 32 degrees. You'll probably be okay. So this is a really well insulated backflow here. We've got a giant blanket, extra bungee cord around it to keep it a little tighter, and then the pipe insulation down below. This is really going to help prevent freezing on the backflow and the supply line to the main. You can also use insulation that you can wrap around the pipes like this, or you can use heat tape along the pipes. If you don't have any of those, you can use blankets and duct tape. That works too. Well, this works for insulating too. Garbage bags with newspapers in them. That's an idea. The second way I'm going to show you is probably my favorite. It doesn't cost anything and it's pretty effective. How to drain your sprinkler system. Most people think that simply shutting off the clock will work, but that's not necessarily true. This only turns off the clock. It does not drain the sprinkler system. So you'll have to grab a bucket and a flathead screwdriver and go outside and find the backflow. This is the most common type of backflow. You may also have a reduced pressure backflow. You may find that your backflow has black plastic caps over the test ports. Remove those. Then, using a flathead screwdriver, turn the screws or ball valves to 45 degrees. Doing this before shutting it off inside allows you to drain it much faster. Make sure that you've turned all of them. This device has 2 test ports. This reduced pressure backflow has 4 test ports. Inside the house, identify the water supply for the sprinkler system and shut it off. So you can identify what pipes are for the irrigation by, typically they are 3/4 inch, not always, but there'll always be a shutoff and a drain right afterwards. And then you can follow this pipe and it goes all the way outside. Okay, so main line coming in, there's the main shutoff, pressure regulator, meter, backflow for the house, expansion tank on the left, and then this goes up to the rest of the house. Here is the irrigation system. So when I turn this off, you should hear it turn off. There we go. So the sprinkler system's off now, and this is the drain, so we're going to drain it right here. There you go. There's also different types of drains, like this thumb screw, which is pretty common now in newer homes. It's annoying, but it does work. You can leave the clock on, or go outside and find the valve boxes. Once you open them, you'll see the valves inside. Turn the solenoid around halfway, or 180 degrees, to leave it on. Find every valve box in your yard. Then you can open every valve you have to let each one of them drain separately. And the third way is probably the most involved and the most expensive, but a lot of people do it and it does help prevent freezing. And that way is adding drains to the sprinkler system. These are auto drains and they are positioned and installed at the low points of the manifold and in the sprinkler lines. These auto drains do work to keep water out of the system when freezing, but they do have their own problems, but I'll talk about that in another video. These are 3 ways that will help in a pinch. And while blowing out your sprinkler system is the most efficient way, most complete way of getting all the water out. So maybe you can't blow it out, or maybe you don't have the equipment for it, but you have an impending freeze coming. These are 3 ways that will help. And what was the third one?